Hey guys, Joe here. Today we're looking at the first of three knives I purchased from Kell Knives. If you're not familiar with them, they're a small to medium-sized company, I believe out of Georgia, owned and operated by the namesake of the company and his crew, Tim Kell, former U.S. Marine aircraft mechanic. Cool dude, saw the earth, blue collar. We love that kind of stuff. And their blades are 100% made in USA. What they don't make in-house, they get someone else to make for them here domestically. So they're checking all the boxes. 100% made in USA, veteran owned, blue collar, down to earth kind of guy. What's not to love there? And I really want to harp on that. The people behind the company are really what make Kell stand out. They make great blades, definitely, but it's the people that really make Kell. They are very interesting. They do a lot of things that are very unique. They check in with their customers and the general knife community every week on a live stream, Sundays at 10 a.m. I'll link to their YouTube in the description below. They also give away a lot of knives, which basically no one does. And what I really love is Tim is very open and firm in what he believes, but he doesn't try to cram it down your throat. There's a lot of egos and kind of toxic garbage in the knife world. Tim is a breath of fresh air and something I really love to see and really want to support now and into the future. And today we're looking at a very awesome knife that I think will appeal to a lot of folks, and that is the Kell Bushman. As the name implies, it's kind of a bushcraft outdoors knife, but it's very general purpose. It's kind of their middle range size kind of knife. They've got some that are bigger, very hardcore abuse, apocalypse stuff, military type stuff. They've got stuff that are smaller, but this is kind of the sweet spot in their catalog, and it can do basically a little bit of everything. It'll come with a sticker, obviously, and right now they're really cool knife boxes, but I believe in the future they're going to switch to a bag. And the price point on these right now is $250. Unfortunately, they had increased prices due to material costs. That's just the way it is. The economy sucks. Things are going to get more expensive, but they're doing their best to keep it manageable. And I think $250 for this kind of knife is fair. A lot of people, that's going to be out of their realm of possibility, but I would say this is definitely something you would want to consider saving up for if you're looking for maybe something more than an SE4, a little bit more durable, a little bit more abuse prone. If you're going to have just one super tank of a knife, this might be something you want to look into. Or if you already have knives in this price range, if you've got something kind of like a Bradford 4, 4.2 and want something a little bit more abuse centric, this might also be something you want to look for. It's not too big, it's not too small, it's kind of just right and at a pretty decent price point. Overall length, this is coming in at 9 inches. They list the blade length as 4, but that's actually 4.5 to where it'd be legally measured. So keep that in mind. The website isn't quite accurate. If you have legal requirements where if it's over 4 inches, it's considered a dangerous knife or an illegal knife, this will not be for you. It's the cutting edge that is actually 4 inches, but a police officer will measure likely down to where it meets the handle. So just keep that in mind. In terms of that size, I think that's a very great size. I've even been able to fit this in my pocket, as you'll see later in the video. I think this is really, really a great ratio blade to handle. Very manageable, and the thing I like most is the weight distribution. Despite this being a big, honking, abuse-centric knife with a stock thickness of 0.165, it keeps the balance more towards the handle. The balance point is right here at that first finger groove. That's really nice. It keeps it handle heavy, so the blade is still very controllable. You can pinch grip it and things like that to really kind of get in nice carving and things like that. I really, really like that it's big and capable, but not too big. Now, comparing it to some other knives, just to give you a better idea of that sweet spot size, here is a Gerber Strong Arm, another very similar blade with a swedge drop point, but this is very stretched out. It's kind of hard to conceal. It's definitely not EDC centric. So if you like something like the Gerber Strong Arm, but want it to be a little bit more everyday friendly, that's where this comes in. Comparing it to another Kell we're going to talk about later. This is one of their newest knives. This is the Kell Agent 003. This is specifically meant for concealed carry. You can see this isn't much bigger than the 003. So it's definitely a very competent size, but still compact. For folders, here is my Benchmade 940. As always, very similar in handle length there. Looking at another staple is the Spyderco PM2. This is much more comparable in overall length, but obviously a lot of that's coming from the handle. And then lastly, for those of you that aren't into fixed blades yet or into modern folders, here is the 91mm Victorinox. This would be like one of those things where you carry this as your main blade and maybe this as your camp blade. I think that would be fair. So if those of you that aren't into fixed blades yet, this would be the one. Getting a little bit closer into this, we have that swedge drop point. Very, very nice and stabby, yet still very strong and stout. The blade steel, as you can see there on mine, is AEBL. They also come in 80 CRV2. Those are both pretty decent steels for the price. Nothing to write home about, but crazy, crazy tough. They're both insanely tough, but AEBL is a little bit tougher, a little bit better in edge retention, and way better in corrosion resistance, whereas 80 CRV2 has basically no corrosion resistance. So for most people, I'd recommend the AEBL version of their blades, But if you're someone who likes to field sharpen a lot, especially if you do things kind of Paleolithic style, like sharpening on river rocks, or you use the underside of your ceramic mug, and you're used to 1095 maybe, then ADCR V2 would be for you. The way they treat their ADCR V2 is going to perform very similarly to 1095, but way, way tougher. So that is just something to keep in mind. If you like carbon steels, ADCR V2 is the way to go. Otherwise, I would recommend AEBL. But what really helps with the corrosion resistance with ADCR V2 is going to be the coating. And the coating on both of them at first looks like an acid stonewash, but what this actually is nickel boron. If you're not familiar with nickel boron, that is used a lot in the firearms industry. They're the only ones using it in the knife industry, and it is a crazy, crazy blade coating. It is super duper tough, coming in at over 70 HRC. It's going to be a while before you can really mar up this coating, and it is very corrosion resistant. I don't know if they've done any testing recently, but I remember a couple years ago they tested it and it resisted saltwater spray for up to 90 something hours. So it's really, really awesome. It's going to help with that corrosion resistance on that ADCR V2 blade. So you really only have to worry about the edge corroding and where it was laser etched. The actual blade itself should resist corrosion regardless. It's a really, really awesome coating. It's also, I believe, a little bit self-lubricating. The only downside, which is mostly on the manufacturing side, is going to be it's very blemish prone. Mine does have a little bit of a blemish here. You can see where it didn't quite fully apply, so it's a little bit shiny there, but that is not that big of a deal. And what Tim does to deal with those blemishes is he basically takes it as a loss. He pulls those from normal production, the real bad blemishes, which really honestly aren't even that bad, and he gives them away for free. So they're taking a loss in giving us this coating. They're not doing it just to be different, and then they take a further loss by giving away blades that get blemished instead of selling them. Again, it's a very cool thing from them, very, very generous, and they're really standing behind their product. They're willing to take a loss just to give us what they feel is the best. Personally, I wouldn't mind Cerakote. I'm totally fine with Cerakote, but this is a very interesting, unique coating that you're only going to get from them, and it's a pretty damn good coating at that. Now, moving on from this blade down a little bit further, the newest version of the Bushman, which you're not going to see in some of the older videos, has jimping. It's really nice, big jimping, so it's not aggressive, but it really locks you in, especially if you're rocking, say, gloves. You get a little bit of a blade guard here, but nothing to write home about, and you do have a sharpening choil. The other big major selling point of TKEL's is right here, the scales. This is their Fury scales. They have tons of customization when it comes to the scales and the screw colorways. You get dark or satin screws, but the scales come in like a plethora of colors. You get standard duotone, so one color layer, and then you've got the swirled. So you've got things that are like purple and black, you've got grays, you've got blue and black swirl, red and black swirl, which is Hades. Tons of really cool stuff. We're going to look at a couple other of them. So the duotones look like this with the G10. The swirls look like this, and they also come with micarta. They've got OD micarta, black micarta, and jean micarta. You can basically make your knife fairly unique just from the scales and choosing the screw color alone. I think that's really, really cool from TKEL, and it's definitely a pain in the neck for them because they have to stock all that stuff. So again, they're standing behind their product, even though it's not necessarily the best for them as the manufacturer. Really, really cool. In terms of the handle on this, is super comfortable. This just feels really, really nice. And I don't know what they do with the surface of the G10, but it almost feels like micarta. It's got a little bit of a fibrous nature to it, and they oil it also to help make those colors stand out. And that's another thing to keep in mind. They oil it coming from the factory, but it's an environmentally friendly, nature friendly, kids safe oil. I believe it's Bohr Products oil that will be changing in the future, and sometimes it will be a little bit heavy on the blade, so wipe it down when you get it. But it's something where it really, really looks nice, oiled or unoiled, but it will come oiled. So right now, this is just really great feeling. And as you can see with the screws, they are pass-through. Those are something that Tim designed himself. And so you can get a lanyard through the base, but you can also like wrap this around and turn it into like a spear if you had to do some survival crazy nonsense. So that's really cool. Tim really has thought out the design on this. And what's crazy about how well designed this is, according to Tim, he's not a knife guy. He kind of fell into making knives, kind of trying to fill a gap where he needed something and didn't have it. For a guy that's not into knives, he designs some pretty damn good knives and has really thought about everything when it comes to this. It's really, really cool. And then obviously on this side, proudly made in USA. No small little stamp or flag. They are loud and proud about it, and I'm perfectly happy with that. Overall, this is a very, very awesome knife. I think it's very, very cool. I think the price point is very fair. In terms of what I like most about it, I really love the balance point and keeping this nimble. The market is oversaturated with tip-heavy choppers that are just not necessary in the woods. If you want to chop, use the right tool. Get a machete for vegetation. For wood, get a hatchet. Leave it a knife. That's what they've done. And I also really love the customization of the colors of the G10. Really killer. What I don't like, it's not really that I don't like it, I just think they could improve some things. I would really love to see a more pronounced guard, even just a 1/4 of an inch out. For those of us with big hands, you can kind of see, I kind of have the ability, if I were to pierce this into something, to maybe slip over that due to just sheer force. So for those of us with bigger paws, I'd like to see that come out just a little bit more. I would also love to see, at this price range, maybe an upgrade in steel. It's not necessary. AEBL and ADCR V2 are fine, but we're getting into the realm at $250 of seeing other companies bring in 3V, which is better than both of those steels, hands down. It's just much tougher, much better edge retention, and its corrosion resistance is almost as good as ABL. Not quite, but again, with the coating, it's kind of irrelevant. I would really love to see AEBL and ADCR V2 be replaced with 3V in the future. That would probably make this the perfect knife. 3V and a more pronounced guard there, flawless at that point. So overall, really great job for Kell Knives. I really look forward to putting this into testing. To be honest, and fully admit this here, I didn't plan on keeping this. I only planned on keeping one of the Kells. I just wanted to help support them and show them off, but I'm not getting rid of this anymore. As soon as I held it in my hand, I was really, really impressed, and I really love this thing. Just those two changes, I think, would make this go from a great knife to being a perfect knife for what it's for. So we're going to probably be testing this. I'll try to record some footage of it batoning and things like that, just so you can see what it can do in the woods. But before we leave here, I wanted to just put in the cherry on top, and that is the Sheath. This is a pretty decent Kydex sheath, but what they include with it is a neat little proprietary jig that they print out, and it can be done with the DCC clip. It comes like this on here. This allows it to ride very nicely in a pocket. And so I'm going to run some footage here. You can see me putting it in the pocket of just some like khaki slacks. I've also done it with blue jeans. I've done it in my waistband of my sweatpants even. It's really, really nice. This is something where they thought about everything. So this is where I say it's more than just an outdoors knife. If you're thinking, oh, it's just a bushcraft knife, I have 1,000 of those. It also works as a pocket fixed blade. It also works as a waistband carry. This is a fully sized and capable knife that disappears just because of how they proportioned it and that little clip that they've added on. It's really cool. I don't know that they sell this proprietary clip, but I really like to see them sell it because it can basically fit anything that it can fit vertically or horizontally on a tech lock, which is most knives out there with Kydex sheaths. For example, I've got my Compliance Edge SVM. It can fit on here, and having that more center type carry makes basically any knife better. I really, really love this, and I really wanted to end with that because it definitely is more than just an outdoors knife, and I look forward to testing it for more than just outdoorsy things. So until next time, stay safe, stay informed. I'll see you in the next one.